Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. This is Rabbi Simon Altef. Can you all hear me, please? Testing. Okay, so let's kickstart this. Okay, today's Parsha is Parsha's Korah on the Torah front. And any questions that arise from last week? Anybody had any questions from last week's session? Okay, nothing? Okay, that's fine. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today was a process that is called Agnihotra. And basically what happens in that you get this little oven. It's a very small piece of metal, usually made of brass or copper, and you put it in your home. It's portable. You can actually build those into your house, like in your backyard, out of clay, out of earth. And what you do is you take that and you will put some wood into it. There are 2 times that this oven will be lit up. One is sunset and one is sunrise, after sunrise. Now this is mentioned in the book of Ezekiel. No, not book of Ezekiel, it's in book of Daniel. It is mentioned in there, but I doubt very much if you read it you will even see it, because it's kind of, it's not spoken clearly of, but it's there. And so if Rabbi Kefa can forward, Rabbi Kefa, do you want to forward that link, that little kit that you said you could, this could be purchased from Amazon or somewhere like that. So you could purchase it as a little kit. But normally what happens, this is like a little altar. And this altar is really for the home. And what it does is when you light the fire in it with usually with wood. In the old days, they did it with cow pat. With cow pat, they made this little round cakes, and they used those to burn it. And of course, our people use that as well in the past. So what happens is that it generates energy in the home, and it removes bad energies in the house. If there are people ill in the house, it will help those people to cure those people. So there are a number of things that you can burn inside it. And one of the things that you should always have to burn on this fire is camphor. So you can get camphor oil, you can get camphor in little bits like white color, and normally you put camphor in it because that will help to remove negativity in the house, and it will also help to keep certain diseases away. You can also put frankincense in there. You can put myrrh in there, because you can buy frankincense and myrrh oils, and you can buy them as raw. So there's also a couple of other herbs that you can put in there. Now let me explain to you something that you may not know and may have never heard of this before. In the ancient times in Egypt, when our people were there, that was the whole point of constructing the pyramids. The pyramids were aligned with the planets, and the Egyptians did this. They did this technique to ward off evil and to bring blessings into their land. So this basically brings in a blessing into your house. And if people are ill, this will help to remove illness, and this will also help to purge out negativities, blocks, all sorts of things. So the number of different herbs that are burnt, they all have different properties. And what people in India and Pakistan side, on the east side, what they do is they take when they burn the wood or the cow pat, they take that black soot and they use it to wash their dishes. And sometimes they also use those to wash their fruit and vegetables, because apparently it can also take off. If your fruit and vegetables have that spray that you put on to make it look all shiny, like you see in Walmart, shiny apples, bananas, so it helps to, what this does, it removes that spray from those stuff. So some people in India, they do that. And I have read reports in India of people, like one man, he was ill, he had high blood pressure, it wasn't being controlled by statins, he had diabetes, it wasn't in control, it was out of control, Shabbat Shalom James. And so what he did eventually he went back to his ancient method of doing this process of sunrise, lighting this little fire, and then sunset. And he did it religiously. And he said that his blood pressure went normal and his diabetic sugar levels went normal. That's how powerful this thing is. So, like I said, if somebody wants to post Daniel 8:26, that would be great, because Daniel 8:26, like I said, you'll never see it in there, but it is there. And this method, it's supposed to generate energies from the earth, because remember, earth has magnetism and power, and so it generates energies that rise up, and it will go into your home, and it will purify your homes. And what I suggest you do is, if you're in America, you'd have to face that to the east, which will be towards Jerusalem. So you line it up to that side, and then you do your necessary, and the burning time, it's only about 6 minutes. You don't have to do it for a long time. It's not like you have to be stuck there and before you go into your office and you spend hours on it. No, only about 5 to 6 minutes of this stuff. Then you put out the fire and you go do whatever you need to do. Now, of course, you'd have to get up early, prepare yourself, and then do this. So if you find that you lack time, then I suggest you pick one time. Either you pick sunrise and do it then, so you're lining up with the sun, or either you pick up sunset and you do it at sunset after you come back from your job. That might be in the evening. So whatever time works for you, I suggest that you make it a practice. If you want to receive abundance in your house, if you want to prevent your family from getting ill, and all sorts of other things that it is beneficial for. So it's a must-do practice. Now, what I'm going to do is, when I'm leaving in a few days' time to the east. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to put this in my house, and I'm going to build it in the house. Like, I'm going to build it out of stones and just regular earth, because the Bible speaks about an earth altar, and this is the earth altar that the Bible speaks about. And our people knew how to build this stuff, and they built it out of pure earth. But when our people lived in Egypt, they obviously used the Egyptian ways, which was, they were using the pyramid shape, but they were doing it out of copper, brass, and those kind of metals, because it works with those. You can do it out of metal like stainless steel too, but it has much more power if it's built out of earth, which you can build very easily with bricks and earth. A bit of cement, bit of sand, and there's YouTube videos that you can look at, and it's easy built. It's not hard to build. So this basically I wanted to tell you about is number one. Number two, I think last week, I don't know if I spoke about this. Let me see if I did speak about it. Okay, so come back to the Parsha. And I wanted to highlight something. It says in chapter 16, now Korah, the son of Ishari, the son of Kohath, chapter 16 of the book of Numbers, verse 1, and Levi, son of Levi, Dathan, and Abiram, the son of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men. And they rose up before Moses, with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. Now, of course, here what we saw was an attack of sorts on the Kohanim, and there was a lot of jealousy in the family of Korah, who was also a Levite, and his sons were responsible for carriage of the ark. The things like the curtains and bits and pieces of the tent. They were supposed to be the carriers of that, but they were not happy. Korah was not happy about it. He actually wanted to be the Kohen instead. He didn't want Aaron to be the Kohen Agadol, the high priest. He wanted to become the high priest, and he wanted his children to lead the things that were to be carried and erected and put on and put off. He wanted to be number one man, because he was unhappy that Moses had selected his brother to give him the priesthood and not this person, who was basically he was next in line. He was a third son in line, but he wasn't chosen by God. God had chosen Moses, then God chose Aaron, and then after Aaron there was no one else to be chosen other than the sons of this man were chosen to carry certain of the things of the tent of meetings. And so, but he wasn't happy, and he gathered, these men who already, these men he gathered from some of the other tribes. They already disliked Moses from the past, so they were too happy to oblige. Now, what does this teach us? What is the lesson in this? The lesson that we learn from here is that every person has their place. Whether it's a Levite, whether it's a tribe of Judah, whether it's a tribe of Benjamin, they all have their place. And so you must keep your place, and you're not to be jealous of one another and try to usurp each other's authority. Now, I will go so far as to say this, and this might come as painful to some of you, that a lot of our people in ancient times, they married within their own tribes as well. They did not cross tribes so much. It happened very little, actually. If you were a tribe of Benjamin, you married into the tribe of Benjamin. If you were a tribe of Judah, you married into the tribe of Judah. That's what generally happened. And we do see that in the New Testament. You see that Miriam was from the tribe of Judah. So she was betrothed to be married to Joseph, who was also the tribe of Judah. You do not see a cross happening between Judah and some other tribe. We also notice in their family, Elisheva, was from the tribe of Levi, and she also married Zechariah, who was from the tribe of Levi. See, there's examples there, that tribe to tribe, and they were attached to each other by the hip. So the reason why they did that was, generally speaking, it was to do with inheritance, the land and cattle and other things that they owned. They did not want their things to go to the other tribes. If for instance, let's say there was a man from the tribe of Benjamin and he married into Judah, he took a woman from the tribe of Judah, then what would happen, the woman's inheritance would go to this man. Now the tribe of Benjamin would become the owners of stuff that Judah controlled, and Judah would not be happy to lose their plot of lands, because it's gone to another tribe, and they start to increase more than Judah does. So the practice usually was to stick to tribe to tribe. Levi would marry into Levi, and Benjamin into Benjamin, and Judah into Judah. So that's the model, by the way, folks. And so therefore you see maybe very little crossing occurs. If we go back and look at some examples in the book of Genesis, you even find there that Tamar took Judah to be husband. In the Levirate model, she didn't decide to take another husband and say, well, the son of Judah is too young to marry me for now. I'll go find another husband in another tribe. She didn't do that. She waited for that son to grow up. When he didn't take her as a wife, she went with his father, who was to her was a next in line for the Levirate model of marriage. And so she's still technically and literally married into Judah. So she didn't usurp the gun. Now today, I know that today we are not privy, a lot of us are not privy to what tribes you are. But I can tell you that a lot of the American people here that are of the category of color, people of color in this country, majority of them are from the tribe of Benjamin and Judah, respectively. So you're either going to be the tribe of Judah or you're going to be the tribe of Benjamin, or the two. Now I'll give you very clear criteria. It's easy to know which tribe you belong to. If you're shorty, if you're short height, you belong to the tribe of Judah. If you're tall, you belong to the tribe of Benjamin. It's very simple. It's not hard to ascertain which tribe you are. If your brothers were like 5'6" and 5'5", and the woman happened to be 5'2", 5'3", you're the tribe of Judah. Judah were shorties. And if you happen to be 5'10" and 6 foot, and if you happen to be 6'2" tall and 6'4" tall, then if women are 5'7", 5'8" tall, you're the tribe of Benjamin. You should be seeking a husband in your own tribe. Do not try to cross and say, oh well, let me go to Judah and marry a woman from there and blah blah blah. It doesn't work that way. You really need to look at your own tribe. Yes, Olivia, you'll be Judah. If you're a shorty, you're a Judah. And generally speaking, the tribe of Benjamin, they wanted to make peace, and they didn't want to fight wars. They didn't want to go and start a war. So whereas Judah wanted to start the war but not start peace. So Judah was known for his slight aggressiveness, whereas Benjamin was known for their peace characteristics, which is, let's talk first, let's not start a war. So they were more or less, wanted to make peace, etc. If you have Derek, if you are short and you have a tall sibling, then it may be that you got mixed blood. Like you might be that the mother is maybe Benjamin and the father is Judah. That can happen, but like I said, it's very rare. The only reason it happened in America is because of slavery. That's the only reason why it happened here. If you were free people and you had a choice, you would have never done that. You would have stuck to your own tribes. So it's a slavery has caused a mix-up over here, and not only a mix-up of Benjamin and Judah, but also of Gentiles. You were married into Gentiles too. The white men, they also took the black women for wives and produced kids out of them. Maybe not a formal marriage, but they were still their wives nevertheless, and they produced children out of them. So you ended up mixed with the Gentiles, and the Gentiles produced children out of what I would say slavery, slave women that they owned. So this is just to give you a recap. It's not about how curly your hair is and how thick your hair is. Nothing to do with that. So stop worrying about how big your curls are. Worry about how tall you are, and worry about how short you are. That's your characteristic of Judah and Benjamin. And apart from that, the other thing is that in this particular passage, what we do see is, a cross form of jealousy that occurred with Korah, and Korah having to call the council, and Korah having to call the shots and say, well, why can't I be the priest and leader? And so God calls all these people up, and God says, okay, fair enough. All of you come up, bring all your staffs, bring all your censers. Now, let me tell you this. What I just gave you the practice. Remember I just gave you a practice called Agnihotra, or Agnihut is called in the Indian language. I just gave you a practice called Havan Kund, is the other name for it. And that practice was right there. Remember when God said, all of you bring your censers. Well, what are all of them doing with the censer? If there's only supposed to be one censer with the high priest, what are they doing with censers? So God said, all of you bring your censers, meaning that they were doing the practice I'm just describing to you here. They used a censer, and they used a censer in their homes to burn their herbs. For instance, they burned frankincense, they burned myrrh, and they burn other products. Now, you might think, what the heck? We thought we came out of Africa, but it doesn't matter where you came out of. Your actually forefathers were Indians. And that's something that I've spoken about a number of times, but I don't think people have ears to listen. Mostly they're deaf. They want to pretend that they came out of Africa, and they want to put their hips next to Hamites. That's the problem. I can tell you that Abraham's sons, to go back and back out a little bit to Abraham's sons. And if I back out to Abraham's sons, I would have to go to the book of Genesis, chapter 25, and that would be verse 1. Now there it says that Abraham took a wife. Now this is a total mistranslation, of course, in the King James Version. He didn't just take a wife, he actually had this wife already before Sarah's death. It almost appears like he took her after Sarah's death, which he didn't. So it says that he had born sons. He was born sons with says Zimran, Yokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishwak, and Shua. And then it says Yokshan begat Sheva, Dedan. Dedan were Ashurim, Lethusim, and Lumim. Now who are these people? Let me tell you who these people are. In India today, these are Abraham's sons who lived in India at one time. In India today, when you go to a guru and you go to their place where they teach you meditation and other things, and it's called an ashram. Ashram comes from Ashurim. Ashurim was the son of Abraham. These were the sons who started these ashrams, Ashurim. So that's the link between India and Abraham's sons. Secondly, Abraham's sons also called Veda. One of his sons was called Veda. And the Indians called their holy books the Vedas. These were also the sons of Abraham that practiced what today is known as Hinduism. They were Brahman priests. Abraham's name was Brahm, which is from the Brahman priesthood. So they were from the Brahman priesthood, straight out of India. And these people, these sons, they actually left a lot of knowledge. And there's things called the Upanishad and other things in Hinduism today. And you can link them right back to Abraham's sons, because that's what they are. And it's not easy for people to see who don't know our Eastern culture, but it is easy to see for people like me who actually come from that culture. Now Shiva, today one of the Hindu deities is called Shiva. That is from where it came from. Shiva is the same thing, Shiva. Shiva was a deity that Abraham's sons made into one of their own. Remember, Abraham's father worshipped many deities, or they at least, which we call them archetypes. Archetypes means that each deity has a particular power. Don't look at them like, oh, well, that's one idol, and that's another idol, and that's three idols. No. It's not like an idol issue. If you look at them as just as idols, you're going to make a mistake, because they were not idols as such. These are what we call archetypes. And an archetype is something that you use for a particular event. Like, let's say that you wanted money. So what is the archetype for money? The archetype for money is the goddess Lakshmi, called Devi Lakshmi. She is the archetype. Now, it doesn't mean that the woman has four arms and, she's got dollar signs on her forehead. She actually is an archetype for attracting wealth. And in the Bible, the Holy Spirit is the one that's described as the controller of wealth. So she actually is the archetype, and it links to the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. I don't think many people will tell you that, apart from me. So she is an archetype for wealth, and Indians will put her little statue into their safe, because she will attract wealth. And by the way, that's actually not a bad practice. that she does do that, because remember I just said, don't treat her just like a statue. She's an archetype, meaning she attracts the energy of money into your home. And you will find that many rich people in India, businessmen, they will have her picture in their home, or they'll make a little altar in the corner of their house, in one of their rooms, and they will give worship, different types of worship to that archetype. So these are the things that our forefathers did. By the way, all of these archetypes were created. I don't know if invented is the right word or created is the right word, whatever word you decide to use. They were invented or created by Abraham's sons. They are the ones that, designed them and said, this archetype will do this. This archetype called Ganesha, which is the elephant head, god. There's a lot of stories behind him. They'll say, this archetype will remove your obstacles. So, before you go off and saying Hindus are all bad, they're actually technically all Abraham's sons. Think about that for a minute, because they came out of the wife Keturah. And you will not find this information easily out there, because Christianity has no idea of this. And Jews do know that, by the way. This is why Jews today, they do not rail against Hinduism. They know that this is the case. They know Abraham's sons were spread out in India. And I think I spoke about this many years ago, that India and Saudi Arabia at one time were linked as continent before they split apart. So India ruled over Saudi Arabia at one time, because these sons also covered parts of Arabian Peninsula. So this is all very interesting, but this is what the bottom line is, by the way, is that we actually hook right back into the Indian culture, subcontinent, and the things they do practice there today. That's what our forefathers were doing until they crossed over. When they crossed over, they started to become known from Abram. They were called Abram people, and from Abram, when they crossed over, they became known as the Avrim, or the Hebrew people, because Hebrew means to cross over. So they crossed over the river, which is a Euphrates river in the Middle East, and they came over to Turkey side and into Iraq, then into Israel, and now they have started to be called the Hebrew people. So that is a link there. Now, coming back to practices that you should be doing in your home daily, and this is something that you may want to look into, is that I speak to different people different times, and they have different issues to resolve. So one of the ways we have to know is how do we energize our home? Because the home is basically has energies, different energies, maybe positive, maybe negative. And so how do you energize your homes? Usually when I say to people that don't relate yourself to negative people, because negative energies that enter into your home will usually spoil the crop. It will relate the negativity to you as well. It will pass it on to you, your family, wife, children, whatever it is in that house. Now, the way we deal with this with negativities, maybe I think the best thing to do for that is I keep this to myself for now, because I don't need to put it out in the public. But there is a way to deal with this. So having said that, there are negative energies in the house. One of the things I advise my students is to put the 72 names of God in the north side of the house. Usually I advise that they do that as a matter of urgency. Number one, because that will bring in positive energies into the house that are related to God's names. Secondly, I advise people that they put a menorah in their house, and if preferably it can be lit up, then they can light it. If it's a copper one where you can put oil in it, not just a decorative piece, then it's good. But failing that, the method I described to you of the Agni Hot, you should be easily able to practice it. In England, you can go into your back garden, and you can burn it on your porch, and it's not going to create a big flame. It's a very small piece. It's only 10 by 10. This little implement of a metal or brass, copper, is only about 10 by 10 in height. And all you do is you burn a little bit piece of wood in there, and then you you put some, myrrh in there, you put, a couple of drops of myrrh and a couple of drops of frankincense, and, Rabbi Kefa Todah for the link. And you can look at that link at Amazon. It's already ready-made, but they offer you this thing with the cow pat, little burners, and you can put those and you can burn it with that, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, you just light it up for about 6 minutes, and then after that it's done. Now Daniel 8:26, I'll read it out of the King James Bible, so because that may be the Bible that you all have. Daniel 8:26. Daniel 8:26 says this. It says, "And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days." Now, let me repeat it. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Stop. You see, you do not find anything in there that says, oh, this is Agni Hut ceremony. See, none of you would see that with the eyes that you're going to read it from. But when I read that, I see two things. Sunrise, sunset, new day, and the end of day. And I see the Agni Hut, the fire. That's how you got the vision. Some people, some of our prophets in ancient times, when they lit the fire and they sat there, they started to get visions. That too happens, by the way. I'm not saying it'll happen with everybody, but it can happen with some people. So that's why that thing is mentioned over there. Other than that, now, Yakub, very good question. And Yakub is asking the question, is Hindus archetype worship similar to Lavan's ancestral worship? Let me fill in the blanks for some people here who may not know who Lavan is. Lavan was the father-in-law to Jacob. Jacob was the one who married two of his daughters and two concubines as well. So he had 4 wives from the total from that family. And remember, Jacob was allowed to marry into that family. And the answer to that, Yaakov, will be yes, that there were the similar archetypes. Because remember what happened with Lavan. Lavan was able to ask his archetypes, and he was able to arrive ahead of Jacob. Jacob hadn't got ahead of that point. And he was able to find out where Jacob is, get there, and wait for him. My goodness, it's like that, what's that cartoon, Bugs Bunny? Bugs Bunny gets there before anybody else gets there. So he was able to use those archetypes because they do have power. Don't just think of them as just archetypes. They do have certain powers. And he was able to use the power of these archetypes and able to get ahead of Jacob. And Jacob feared him. It's not like Jacob wasn't fearful of him. Jacob feared him, and Jacob then, in the end, Jacob basically, made a pact, made a covenant with him, and then he only went to his business. But notice also, while Jacob was traveling by himself before he even got married, he stopped at a point, and he then said, you know what, this is the place where God is. And then he puts a stone, just like the Hindus do. He puts a stone, he oils it, he puts oil on it, he pours oil, and then he lights a fire over there. He was doing the Agni Hut ceremony right there, on a sunrise, by the way. And today, you'd only see the Hindus doing that. So Yaqub today, by definition, was doing something that the Hindus do. See, nobody will talk about that, because why? Because they want to pretend like, hey, can sit on chairs and do, hail, they do praise Jesus kind of thing. It wasn't like that. Now, I'm going to come back to another topic, the virgin birth. The virgin birth in Matthew chapter 1, verse 18, this is a question I took up with some of my Eastern students, and I took it up with another room, like it's a virtual room. I took it up over there, and I asked a question, and I said, what is the purpose of this? And it was in, let me just open up Matthew 1:18, and then I can tell you what it says. It says as follows, chapter 1, verse 18, it says, "Now the birth of Yehoshua the Messiah was this way. When his mother Miriam was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit." So, then it says, and Joseph, her husband, being a righteous man and not willing to make her a public example, decided to put her away privately. Now, so I put this question out. What does verse 18 mean? What is the meaning of this? How should we understand it? Let's look at the text as a critical piece of text. How do we understand this? What does it mean that his wife was impregnated by the Holy Spirit? And is it even allowed? Is it allowed that somebody's wife can be impregnated like that? So the people that I was speaking with, they were trying to answer the question, but no one actually put a question and an answer to it. They fumbled and they mumbled, and there were crickets in the room mostly. Mostly, I was giving them clues, and nobody could come up with an answer why. So they're all giving their mumbo-jumbo Christianity answers or non-Christianity answers, or whatever they claim to be in Torah or not. It was all mumbo-jumbo answers at the end of the day. And so I just put up the question. I said, this is a legal question. Think of yourselves as lawyers. And we are dealing with this as a legal question, not from a religious angle, but from a legal angle. Is it permitted? Does this mean that it's okay and, she can give birth to a son and everybody's happy with it and he can be the savior of the world? And if he's a savior of the world, then what the hell we were doing in Egypt when God saved us from there? What was the purpose of those covenants? If we had to wait for another, Savior to turn up at our door and save us once again, what does this all mean? And the answers to some of the answers to these questions is that it is not as it appears. So anyhow, I'm still dealing with these guys, and although I put out a lot of clues for them, and they're having a hard time trying to understand my question, so I've kind of had to phrase my question 3 or 4 times in different ways so they can understand my question, because they keep going off the rails, talking about something else, and I'm actually trying to steer them in the direction of the legal side, not so much of the miracle side, because they're all interested in miracles, that, it's a miracle and God can do this and blah, 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 it's up to God and God can do this miracle. And I said, no. God lives within a certain framework. He is, a lawgiver. He has a law. Now, so we've got to work within that framework. God is subject to His own law as well. It's not outside of His law. So, if God is going to put Himself into humanity, He's going to subject Himself to that law. And so on and so forth. And so anyway, we had an interesting chat. And so the point is that the Bible, in different areas, in fact many different areas, it gives different types of symbols. And a lot of the times the talk is symbolic. It's not a literal talk. Sometimes it might be a literal, and mostly it's symbolic. And the symbolic has different meanings to it. So in the case of Jesus being born, what's the purpose? A man's already married to a woman. Woman is impregnated by the Holy Spirit. The Christians say the Holy Spirit is a he, masculine. So the rabbis looked at this in the past, and the rabbis were infuriated by this. Some of the rabbis were infuriated because they said this is adultery. This woman would be somebody's wife. And if a Holy Spirit is going to impregnate her, that would classify it as adultery, by the way. And people didn't like that word. When I told them that this is how the ancient rabbis saw it, they didn't like the word adultery. They said, how can God do this? And I was like, I don't care what you think or don't think, but if you're going to believe that this is a virgin birth and that he, impregnated Miriam, it's actually classified in legal framework as adultery. So let's not pretend it's something else, because this is somebody's wife. I said there are other questions now arise legally. As a lawyer, I would ask the question, did she cry out rape? Did she stay silent when she was being raped by the Holy Spirit? Did she do anything? Did she call the neighbor? Did she report it to the police? So all these questions arise. And I said, I'm not the one asking these questions. These questions have already been asked. Jewish rabbis are usually silent on this, because either they say, we don't want to say anything because it's a matter that we don't want to speak about, or they say, this is clearly blasphemous, and so they don't want to talk about it. So they would call Jesus a son of a bastard. They said he is a son of Panthera, and Panthera was some Roman guy, and they said that Miriam had sexual encounter with him and produced him. So some rabbis in the ancient times, they lashed out at Jesus because they said, you are the son of, your mother committed adultery and blah, blah, etc. So this is how this was taken very seriously by some Jewish rabbis. But anyhow, I just wanted to lay the framework for the people to understand that everything that looks like a miracle doesn't have to be a miracle. There could be other ways to look at it. And if you're going to look at it as a miracle, it actually may be problematic for our people because, hey, it breaks the law. If your wife, who, is espoused to you, and maybe you're living together, maybe you're not living together, then suddenly she becomes pregnant, what you going to do? What you going to say? Oh, miracle, miracle, my wife is pregnant. No, you're going to ask the question, who you been sleeping with? Whose child is this? And so these are the kind of questions that arose in the first century as well. But Christianity don't like to talk about those things because they like to pretend everything is miracle. It's all okay. But it's actually, technically, it's not okay because it's within the legal framework of what we term today as rape. And it's not a consensual rape, it's just a rape. And so in the ancient times, we had different halakhas on rape. Did the woman call out rape when she was raped? If she did, then the man who tried to rape her would be killed because it'll be similar to murder. Then the man would have to die for the rape because a woman cried out, she would be not be killed. She would not be stoned to death, and because she tried to save her life. And in an instance where a woman didn't cry out and she was raped, then both will be put to death. Because why didn't she cry out? So the rabbis will say, why didn't she cry out? Why didn't she shout help? So again, modern times we don't look at it like that. Modern times they say, a girl goes to the bar and, she takes a drink and some man rapes her and they say, well, she was under the influence of drink and different things happen. Yeah, that's a very good question, Eddie. How did all Jesus' disciples come to accept that fact? Well, that's something that, I would like all of you to think about. I would leave this question here, and I'd like all of you to think about it. And maybe we'll talk about it next week when I'm in the East. How did his disciples take it? And what does it actually mean? So I will leave the answer for now, and I'll just leave the questions, and I've given you enough questions that you should be asking is this legal? She's somebody else's wife. Can another person impregnate her? And secondly, did she cry rape? Of course she didn't. So this is why Joseph at the time decided to put her away quietly. Because Joseph was a righteous man. He decided to put her away quietly. Then an angel came and said to him, don't put her away. This is by the Holy Spirit. So why didn't he put her away? So again, there's a lot of difficulties in this passage. If you go to, because you see, again, a lot of people believe that the book of Matthew was written in Greek, and it wasn't. It was written in Hebrew. When we go look at the Shem Tov Hebrew, we do not find the same information. Now the word Messiah does not exist in the Shem Tov Hebrew Matthew. And other rabbis, other teachers looked at this problem. And, they could not arrive at an answer. They said, you know what, it's best we keep our mouths shut because we don't see a solution in this. Because we're kind of like, if we look at Torah, then this is illegal. And if we say something, we're actually castigating our own people out. So most rabbis, they refused to say anything on the matter. They just kept their mouths shut. Just like Joseph decided to keep it quiet, they decided to keep it quiet too. But you see, if you can imagine, we've got to look at the broader picture. What does it mean? Are we reading something that has a total different meaning to it? Or are we reading it literally? So a lot of that matters on that. So the answers will be given in due course. But for now, I suggest that you think about it, you ascertain the information, you analyze it, and then you see if you can find any answers on that. Now, by the way, we can use the Hindu archetypes. Because what does it say? what does it say in the book of Psalms? Ye are gods, ye are powers. So what does that mean? We have powers that we can utilize to utilize the archetype. Means we can bring them under our power. Again, that's something that nobody talks about except me. It's a very sensitive topic, but it can be done. So this is why I was teaching you that you should be doing your affirmations on the lunar and or solar eclipse. They are very, very powerful times when the planets are in alignment, and what you do, 100 times is like doing it 1,000 times on that night. So by the way, the next lunar eclipse is going to be July 4 and July 5's night. Now, there is a website that illustrates these different eclipses, and I don't know if I've got it listed here. I think I have. I'll give you this website. If you ever want to check the next eclipse, look at this website. And the website is called, I'll read it out, www.timeanddate.com. So if you go to this website, timeanddate.com, time and date is just as spelt, and it's one word, timeanddate.com. Go to that website. It will list, you can go under the menu eclipse, and it will tell you when the next eclipse is. And you can put in your city, and it will tell you, if you can see the eclipse or not in your city, or whether it's in the east, whether it's in the west. By the way, this eclipse that happened last week, it happened over Pakistan and Tibet. And I believe that this is a very important time for this eclipse to happen, and I happen to be going there. And China is about, as close to going to war with India as, there's a big build-up by China on the Ladakh Valley with India, and they have already captured a lot of Indian land in that side. And there's a little passageway there called the Chicken Neck. If China cuts that chicken neck off, if they capture it and cut it off, India will lose all of their, I don't know, it's 18 or 20 states, like Bihar, and there's other states down there, I think Yaqub will know, those part of India, and those states will be totally cut off to Indian authority, and they'll become breakaway republics. Because I think some of them want to break away from India anyway. They don't want India as their head. So a lot of politics are happening in India right now. Pakistan had given a contract to China to build a dam in the Baltistan region, which is a mountainous region of Pakistan. And India was kind of interfering and saying, no, you can't do that. And so China came in, and China started to overtake India's areas. And so China has now said to India that unless you revoke Article 375 or one of those, or 371, check it up. And it said that unless you revoke the article, we will not give you this land back. And this article, I'm going to double check on what the article is. I mean, it's a UN resolution. And this UN resolution is the one that allowed India to, they basically dismantled the resolution. In order now, Indians can go to Kashmir and buy land and marry the women, and they can come back and forth and still be Indians. And Kashmir people can do the same. But before, if Kashmiri people, if a Kashmiri woman married an Indian over at India, thank you, Yaqub, Article 370. So this is a UN resolution. If an Indian woman or if a Kashmiri woman married an Indian man in India, she would lose her nationality. That's it. It was revoked. And she could not go back to her land and purchase land, because she was no longer considered Kashmiri. She was now considered Indian. So what India did, this was done, when India and Pakistan divided back in 1946, 47. In 47, they did this temporarily, but they never took it off. They left it on. And then now they decided to take it off. And China was furious, because China said that you can send Indians into Kashmir, and you can buy the land and marry the women and expand India. And China said that we have the right to expand China. And this land, Ladakh, it belongs to us. China said historically this belongs to us, not to you. So there's about, I believe, 8 fingers. When I say fingers, they're like these mountainous areas. And these mountainous areas are called finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, finger 4 to finger 8. China has already occupied now up to 4 fingers. And China's come to finger 4, and they're telling India to get back because we're going to overtake this area as well. So China is really, really putting their foot down on India, and India is at a crossroad what to do because they are mad and their news are reporting all sorts of lies and misinformation. And China is reporting the news at their end, and Pakistan is reporting at their end. And Pakistan is right now neutral, but Pakistan is China's friend. So whatever China does is going to be a huge blessing to Pakistan, whatever China does right now, because India can't do diddly squat against China. And America can't do diddly squat against China either. Because America sent in their ships, oh yeah, we'll help you. And China said, you dare try, and we'll cut you off as well. So China threatened America, China threatened India, and India went to Russia and said, please help us with China. And Russia turned around and said, no, this is not our problem. You have to deal with China. So India said, give us the S-400 missile system, because they purchased this missile system from Russia. And Russia said, it's not ready, and we will give it to you later, maybe in 2022, because they said, no, give it to us now, because we want to protect our borders. And so China told Russia not to give the system to them, delay it. They said, put a delay to it. And then China told Russia that tell India that this system cannot be used against us. It cannot be used against us to fight the war. If they use it against us, you'll deactivate the system. So Russia told them that you cannot use this system against against China. And I think Pakistan as well. So they've made a stipulation because Russia has made inroads both to, they're an old partner with China, and they also have now partnered with Pakistan. Actually, Pakistan army, they went to the Russian army and they did exercises together. So they've built inroads, they built relationship with Pakistan. They have a long-standing relationship with China, and so they're basically backing China right now and saying that no, we're not going to do this. So the New York Times recently reported that Russia had been supplying arms and money and weapons to the Taliban and told Taliban to kill as many American soldiers as you can. And then, they gave them their secret hideouts as well. This is where they are housed and this is where they live. But the Taliban turned around and the Taliban rejected that idea. They said, no, this is not true, because we've been fighting the Americans and the other 39 nations with them for the last 21 years. So we don't need Russia to tell us where they are, because we already been fighting with them. So they kind of rejected the idea that Russia was giving them money and ammunition to do it. Now, it could be that because Russia was defeated by the Taliban, it could be that Russia is trying to, get back at America in this way. But again, it's not certain. But this is the kind of news that was being reported recently in New York Times. Now, I don't know what you think of that. I don't know if you think it's fake news. I don't know. I really don't know. But Taliban have denied that report. But the Taliban are only about 250 miles from Kabul, and they could overtake Kabul whenever they wanted to. But right now they're in peace talks with America. They're told American people and their troops to get the hell out of our country. You're not allowed to be in our country. If you don't go, we will continue to fight until we kill all of you. So that's the Taliban's lesson to, or message to America. And the Indians tried to use the Taliban, and the Indians got their own mess to sort out right now in India. Modi, the Prime Minister of India, is been misinforming their people and lying about the border and saying, no, there's nothing going on, and China did not overtake our land, and we beat them to it. But actually what had happened, the Chinese had already killed one general and captured and killed several Indian soldiers. More than 25 is a report. And so India did not want to tell their people. So there's a lot of, back and forth politics, misinformation, fake news, all of that going on in India as well right now. And but China on their front, I was checking with Kefa, Rabbi Kefa, and I said to him that, what are you hearing from China, from your Aisha's end? And so he confirmed that yes, China is kicking butt. This is a report coming out of China in Chinese. So I said, okay, so the report is confirmed. So basically that's what's going on down there. I guess, if you have families there, just tell them to be mindful of all this going on and keep safe, keep out of trouble, keep safe. So the methods I'm giving you today are to help you, to help your families, and to keep them safe as well. So, put them to practice, and I highly, highly encourage you to, like I said, 72 names of God, the menorah, and there's one other thing that I put in my home, over there and over here, was this was a Kabbalah amulet type of thing. Put it on a wall. I had it fully designed in Pakistan in steel. So when I go over there, I'm going to put it in steel in the home. And what this does, this was something that was designed by Rabbi Isaac Luria. And this has the verses from the book of Exodus in there, and some other Psalm verses in the Hebrew, and it's got a picture of some people might say it's a picture of a bird, but to me it's a hand, and it's a man, picture of a man. And what this does, it protects your home from any kind of, let's say, plague. Plague might be the right term. This coronavirus is a type of plague. It will protect your family from any plague out there. I instructed my family to put this up in the home back in the East, and I have it in my home, or at least temporary home over here, and I can report to you that no one of my family has been affected by the coronavirus. So, and my students who were using this, I told a couple of students to do this too, and they also have no cases of coronavirus. So, it's a powerful, powerful amulet. If you want to have it, let me know. I can send you a picture, and you can print it, and you can stick it on your wall, and you'll be fine. Absolutely, Yaqub. Yeah, Yaqub has it. Rabbi Kefa has it. A couple of the other students have it. And all you need to do is just print it out on your printer. Put a little, if you want to put a little, protective cover over it, so it protects it don't go off, and then just stick it on your wall by the door. Where your wall is by the door, stick it there, and it'll protect your home, it'll protect the people as well. Because, unfortunately, Christians have a habit of not washing their hands. So, how many times can you tell somebody to wash their hands? So, you do need extra protection. So, if you have members of your family who don't wash their hands and just, are a little bit reckless, then you do need some extra protection in your homes for that. So, I'd advise to use this. Any other questions before I give back over to Rabbi Kefa? I'm going to be traveling next week, and Rabbi Kefa will be in charge over here. I will try to connect with you over there in the East and report back from there. I'll try to do it live if possible, and if I can't do it live, I'll definitely send you recordings so you can be briefed on what's going on. And any new revelations the Abba gives me will be put out. And so that's the news so far. I can tell you this, that Baruch Hashem Yahweh, all the flights were stopped in the country where I'm going, and there was no flights into the country. And some people were questioning me, saying, how are you going to get into the country? There's no flights. And I said, when the Kohen is ready to travel, the flights will open up, and he will travel. No flights can stop me from coming into the country. And lo and behold, last week, the Prime Minister of Pakistan said, flights can resume normal service. Boom, they're all opened up. And I'm traveling next week. Think about that. But think about what I said. Baruch Hashem Yahweh for that. So, over to you, Rabbi Kefa. You guys have a great Shabbat and great new week ahead.
If I can be heard, can I get a one? Torah-Prosperity, I'm going to do some, Oliver, vive la France. Shabbat shalom to you, Oliver. Yeah, Hakohin, I'm really excited for you and your journeys and doing the necessaries that you need to do, going back to the place of your birth. And I think that's very important for all of us to understand going forward. For us as the people of the books, if we really want to go forward and know what's going to happen in the future, we always must, look at our past. You must look at your past. Fortunate for our Kohen, he has a history of his past. The majority of us don't, but that's okay because we're putting our past back together. especially those of you here in North America. Now, Hakoyim was talking about classifications of, the forever peoples. When you look at North America and you see that majority of us are not indigenous to this land, right? Only one who can probably have some rights on that would be the Indians. They would probably have more of a case. I like the way you put that, Akohin, that we always, as Torah embracers, those of you who have embraced Torah, you always, daily, you must see yourself as a litigator. A litigator on some kind of level. How many of you have the understanding that you are lawyers? If you follow the law of Moses, you are considered, maybe you're a junior lawyer, senior lawyer, intermediate lawyer, but if you have embraced the laws of Moses, you become a lawyer in some aspects. You see, because the law needs to be governed. And who's going to govern the law but us? We have to be the governors of the law, especially for our home. To say that, you have to point the finger and govern everybody around you. No, you must use the laws of Moses to govern your life, the life of your family. That's paramount. Excuse me. So we must understand. My wife just made me this awesome, and it seems to not want to go down because it's so good. So we must understand that. It is very important that we understand that we are litigators, especially all of the rabbis that we have here. You are junior, senior litigators. So it's very important when you hear a case that you hear both sides. That's so very important. And when we look at the story that we have here in our history with Korah, my goodness, and how apropos that we're dealing with, the Levites and the Kohanim at the time when the Kohen has a lot of things going on in his life as well, as we know. For the majority of you, how many of you is HaKohen the only Kohen that you know? Anybody? Put up a capital K. You say, Rabbi Kefa, HaKohen is the only Kohen that I know. HaKohen, Rabbi Simon, that is the only one that I know of. You see, that I personally know of, he's the only one. World over, to the four corners of this earth, HaKohen is the only one that I know. Rabbi Simon out. Okay, well, good thing. And it's not that you need to know many anyway, so it's not like a trick question or anything like that. It's not like a trick question. You don't need to know many. When you look at our history, you'll understand that many are not needed. Well, I tell you, some people, right? They just don't get it. They just do not get it. Give me one. Let me do this. Fuck on, man. I mean, my goodness, some people just don't get it. Some people have nothing else better to do with their time than to be a doctor. This is what you see in our parsha as well. And when we look at our parsha, it's very important that we understand something. And Hakoy mentioned some things that were paramount in this lecture. If you got them, you got to kind of hang on to every word that he says, because there is some understanding and direction and guidance in it. But one thing that I wrote down during this was that what happens when you're not happy? Anybody tell me from your own personal experiences, when you're not happy, what normally happens? What normally materializes from not being happy? Anybody? Any takers? Like when you look, when you're not happy, what materializes from that? The other woman here says blocks. Again, it says depression, illnesses. When you're not happy, what materializes from that? What is a physical presentation, a manifestation, not being happy? She said, makes others unhappy. That's good. Not being happy. Think about that for a minute. When you look at your life, and you look at your life, and you say, well, when I'm not happy, these things happen. When I wasn't happy, this happened. This happened. This happened. Feeling down. That's good because, at the end of the day, analysis is key. we must analyze our lives. We really must do that. Our own lives, not analyzing other people's lives, not in everybody else's business, but we really, to become better people, human beings, to be a better person, you have to analyze your life. And I can guarantee you, especially when I look at my life, the majority of the time when I'm not happy, nothing good comes from not being happy from my experience. From my experience. Now you're saying, is there a utopia of being happy all the time? Of course not. We're human beings. But we must recognize the stage of happiness so we can move out of it, you see. You can't recognize what you don't see. You understand what I'm saying? So it's very important that we recognize when we're at those points in our life where, we're not, like James talks about, when you're feeling down. And you're going to have those moments. You're human beings. But you must be able to recognize it, because if you don't, then it can be a hindrance to everything else that you want to do, not being happy. So my desire is that majority of you have that as part of you affirm that daily. You affirm in your affirmations that, that you are happy. You are happiness. You are happy. It's very important. Happiness is a great healer. I can guarantee you. Just like laughter is a medicine, happiness is a great healer. It can heal your body. Because at the end of the day, this complex structure that we call a human being can be controlled by basically taking control of the mind and by mindset. That's how you think of yourself. Because as a man thinks of himself, that's what he'll be. A wise man once said that. A very, very wise man once said that. Lion King said the mind controls the body. So it's very important, and I'll piggyback on what Lion King said. If the mind controls the body, we must control our mind. You get it? You see, because for a long time, a lot of people have been mind controlled, and look where that has got them. Put me in that category. One time or another, I was mind controlled. I would hop and skip all over the place, from this, that, the other, and the third, based on what my mind was telling me. I was dictated by what my mind would tell me. I just would go with it. Now I understand that I can control my mind. The mind is a wonderful tool, but it must be put in its proper place, you see. Grandmama told me a long time ago, mind your business. when you begin to mind your business, then, things really become crystal clear to you. And you can see things better for what they really are. And you're not living in this cloud, this fog, to where you can't anticipate what's going to come next, what's going to happen next. I already know what's going to happen next. I know what's going to happen after that, and what's going to happen after, I already know. And in that apropos and parallels with our history, we already know the ending. And we know it's not going to be some kind of rapture mumbo-jumbo. We got the beginning and the end. Bukashir. Right? Bukashir, isn't it? That's beautiful. There's no fill in the blanks here. Yet there is. Because the thing about it is what do you want in between that? What do you desire in between that? And at the end of the day, I would encourage all of you on a daily basis to seek happiness. To find your happy place. How many of you have a happy place? To find your happy place. If you don't have one, find it. And dwell there. When those rocky times, when those rough times come on board, like you all know, we're involved in a second wave over here, so it's blah, blah, blah. And it's true, because I'm in the hospital now on the front lines, and I'm telling you, it's real. There's a second wave. And we were all anticipating this to happen. I'm down in Texas, and I'm telling you, the numbers have kicked up, and that is what we anticipated was going to happen anyway. So I don't understand why people run around here acting like it's the apocalypse and blah, blah, blah. No, you just deal with it. Majority of these people, they have some symptoms, and we're sending them home. That's just what's going on. But yeah, hospital numbers have went up. I'm pretty sure all of you have been hearing about that. There's a lot of things going on around the world. I told you I was giving you a little bit of a synopsis, but I'm telling you, there is a lot of things on all over the world. So God as the children of the books, we need to be the ones that's standing in the gap and standing for peace and love and happiness and joy. Our default settings, Baruch Hashem. Character, not color, character. You see, because as I quote, he was giving us a kind of a breakdown of, our history and our family history and our relations within our family, meaning the family of Jacob, the family of Israel. One question that came to my mind, especially here in North America, is how you differentiate between a Israelite, the children of Israel, the descendants of the Hebrews, and Ham. How do you do it? Does anybody know? You see, because most of these, there's a lot of blacks and browns over here in North America. What's the determining factor of how you differentiate between Ham and Shem in North America? The doctor, your response is Shane Yah, Shabbat Shalom, Shane Yah. Shane Yah says, and Shane, I'll tell you something, because you've been in my meditations this week. I'm forever grateful to you as well. As I look at my wife daily, and I have to thank you, because you were one of those avenues amongst many that assisted me in getting the most beautiful wife, the most perfect wife for me in the world. And I give thanks to you, my brother from the same mother. I give thanks to you. I want to put that out there publicly. I give thanks to you for that, because, you played a key role in connecting me to the right people in the East, the right person, I would say. And now that right person has become my sister. And she's doing well, by the way. I know you've been checking up on Freya, but she's doing real well. Her son is growing, and good ship. She's totally happy in China. Yeah, good, Shanya. And I want to thank you very much for that. So now for that, Oliver says character as well. You see, that's what you need to look at. This is it for you to look at that. And believe me, Shanya, it won't go. Believe me, I haven't forgotten. Believe me, it won't go without justice will be served on your behalf. I just want to tell you that. I just want to put that out there to you, because remember, at the end of the day, we're lawyers. And more importantly than anything is I want justice. And more importantly than anything is that acknowledgement is key. Why do we always have to acknowledge the bad things in life? How come we can't acknowledge and give thanks for the good in life, and for the goodness in life, and for what the good things that people do for you? How many of you have been aided by another human being? Meaning aided, you've been blessed by another human being. Some other human being maybe have said something to you, told you something, gave you some advice, gave you some guidance, and it has benefited you exponentially. But how many people have went back and said thank you? Or how many people have just said, look, here, because of what you've done for me, this is what I'm going to do for you. This is just out of the gratitude that I have for what you've done for me. Think about that for a minute. Me and Mom have this tradition to watch a movie. Once Nakshan goes to bed, we'll sit down and watch a movie together. Well, the movie we watched together last night, and I hadn't seen this movie. How many of you seen the movie Hancock? That's an awesome movie. With Will Smith in it. Will Smith is a superhero. I hadn't seen that movie. Well, I watched it last night with my wife, and I tell you, what a great movie. And, Hancock was this boozy superhero that was I tell you, you need to go watch that movie. That's a good movie. But, they were trying to rebuild his character, because he was just this superhero that was sleeping on the bus stops, and, and he'd wake up drinking booze, he'd go to bed drinking booze, and, his saving was wrecking. It was a disaster. And so a man came into his life to help him clean up his act. And one of the first things, I'm not going to tell you the whole movie, but one of the first things that this human being came in his life and told him was this: hey, you got to start telling people thank you. You got to start, telling people that they're doing a good job. And you couldn't get those two words out of his mouth for nothing. He kept trying to train him to say, thank you. And the man just wouldn't say it. Hancock just wouldn't say it. But that should come out naturally to us to say thank you. And I appreciate you. And I truly am grateful for what you've done for my life. Amongst others in my life. What is, will be into the next life, and the reward will come, Baruch Hashem, is the Kohen in the gate. I mean, Kohen Rabbi Simon out there has been, I mean, my goodness, I can't say thank you enough. And I don't really say, I let my actions do the work. I do tell him to God, but I mean, that's just words at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's just words at the end of the day. You got to back up the word with a lot of deed. And so, yeah, there's a big corona thing kicking off. And, yeah, all of you, don't run in fear. Run in the faith of our forefather Abraham. You know, our Kohen, time and time again, has given us great tools that we can begin to use to apply in our lives. And I'm telling you, they work if you apply them. And if you really have a belief in them. If you really have, like I was saying earlier with that question, the right character. If your character matches that of Hebrew, I don't care what color you are, then you cross the water. You are that Hebrew. You are the descendant. You are that family of Jacob. And it's not about color. You're absolutely right. It's about the character. Because these blacks and browns over here, you got to differentiate. Because, yeah, there's Judah and Benjamin here for the majority, but there's also Ham here real deep. Hamites are here. And so what do? They're black and brown too. And Caucasian. Because all the mixing that's going on, they may come in any kind of flavor. And you know, my answer is a question. I'm always, coming up with solutions. Like, so one of my answers was this, was like, okay, well, one of the key determining factors for me to differentiate between Ham and Shem in North America 2020 would be their reaction to the Torah. Do they embrace the Torah or do they reject it? Do they reject it outright or do they embrace it? See, because Torah's in our DNA, man. That's our makeup. Not the Torah of Judaism, but as you know, Judaism will probably ascribe to a lot of the things that the Kohen, Rabbi Simon out there is teaching as witchcraft. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm Kohen. But majority of them, they would ascribe a lot of this stuff that our Kohen is teaching us as witchcraft, as devil worship, and blah, blah, blah. And as definitely as foreign. This is foreign stuff. There's no way our ancestors did that, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. We have to look at this and say, on the surface, what makes you happy? Because I'm going to tell you, Ms. Bahal, a lot of people around me are worried about me because they're like, oh, you're a nurse and you could die of this corona. I'm like, you could die riding your bike down the street and get hit by a car. Come on. This is what I signed up for, Ms. Bahal. You know why? Because I love what I do. I do what I love. And I recommend that for all of you. You make that part of your mantra. Love what you do what you love, and that's what's going to make you happy. Now, that's a statement that I just gave out to a hospital people, because guess what? Rabbi Kefa was just nominated as the Nurse of the Year here in San Antonio, in the hospital where I work. And I got an award and a plaque and all that. But I made this statement. And it's not the first time I got this award. Actually, it's the second time, actually. But, I made this statement. I said, love what you do and do what you love. And that was my example of happiness. This is my definition of happiness to all of you. Love what you do and do what you love. And my daughter comes up to me, well, Dad, how do they evaluate who is the Nurse of the Year? How do they evaluate that? I say, you know what? Let me tell you, daughter, how they evaluate it. It's not by what you say, it's by what you do. It's your actions. It's your actions. My work, and I've told you this many times, and all of you family, it should be the same way with you. My walk is based on, my work goes way before my words do. Way before my words do. Way before. Look, I'll send you the link. Here you go. Here's the link for it. You can get it on Amazon. Check it out. Check it out. Yeah, so your work goes way before your words, Ms. Bahal. Way before. 10 days, 20 days, months, years out before your words. So to me, it's less speak and just a lot of action. That's the character of our forefathers. That's the character makeup of who we are. You don't have to sit around here tooting your own horn. Toot the horn of others. Be gracious and grateful for others that have been beneficial in your life. Not what you've done for people, but what have people done for you. And go and give gratitude and thanks. And not just in word and deed. Not just in word, but in more deed and in your actions. You see? That's for it. Well, Lamont, you got this newborn son. What if you get corona and you get corona to your son? I don't even entertain thoughts like that. Because I understand the protection that I have. At the end of the day, do you know life is a mental game? Those who are mentally strong, and those that are going to be successful. But those that are mentally weak, those are the ones that are going to fail. Because just as James said, I think it was James said it earlier, is that if your mind, or was it Lion King? If you're mentally strong, you're going to be all right. Mentally strong meaning not have a strong mind, but have your mind in control. You control your mind. But if you're mentally weak, you're going to have a rough go at it. You're going to be tossed to and fro. Life is a mindset. Set your mind right. That's all life is a mindset. Because there's a lot of things. There's a lot of information. Your brain is steadily working and feed. All kind of information is being absorbed. What's being deleted? What's being rejected? So what's being received? These are things that you must consider on the daily. You must consider these things. Because there's forces around you. Positive forces and negative forces around you. Energies around you at all times. You have to decide. What side do you want to be on? What are you going to receive for yourself and what are you going to reject? So I titled this lecture here, I called it Truth or Dare. How many of you know about some truth or some dare? Truth or Dare. I used to play that as a child, by the way, with my sister. We used to play Truth or Dare. Or we used to play another one you might like, called Simon Says. Well, as Pharaoh exits stage left. I titled this lecture Truth or Dare. Because what are you going to find, right? What are you going to find in our history? And with this story that we have with Korah, which is so apropos, is that on the side of truth, I'm going to give you some other synonyms for truth. Anybody want to name some? What's another synonym for truth? Truth or facts? Because at the end of the day, I want the facts. Truth is proof. You're going to have some proof with your truth. Otherwise, it's not true. A lot of people out here claiming truth, but lack proof. They lack evidence, you see. And remember, as litigators, if you want to win a case, what are you going to have to bring to the table? The best what? Evidence. When your case goes to trial and the jury sits there, what are they mulling over? They're not mulling over rumors. They're not mulling over hearsay. They're not milling over conspiracy theory. No, they want what are the facts? Lay out the facts. So they need evidence. They want proof. Thus get you to the truth. You understand where we're going with this? See, a lot of people today on YouTube and on the news and whatever, they'll say, oh, this is the truth. But it's based on what? As a litigator, you just can't take it just for the words. You know what I mean? You just can't take it for the word. This is the truth. I'm telling you the truth. So did it. Oh, that's the truth. Well, how do I know that's the truth? You see? So these are things that we have to consider. Because at the end of the day, how many of you agree with me? If you have the facts, if you have the truth, if you have the proof, you're going to be happy. But it's when you don't have the facts, you don't have the truth, and you don't have the proof, is that you don't know where you're at. You're confused. Confusion is not the recipe for a successful, for a happy. Can you be happy and confused at the same time? Can you? Have you personally, have you ever been happy and confused at the same time? It can't be. These are opposite attractions. You see? Opposite attractions. You can't be happy and confused at the same time. Kiss you, honey. You can't be happy and confused at the same time. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. So remember with truth, I want you all to remember this. Honey, the soup was awesome. For truth, you have to have the facts. You have to have the proof. You have to have the proof. You have to have the facts. Remember that. Don't let nobody come up to you, well, oh, what truth? This, that, the other, and the third. You ever notice with everything that he does, he always brings us evidence. He'll bring you evidence. He'll bring you back. He'll take us back to our history. Say, okay, look, you see? Here, right here. A lot of people can't see it, but it's there. Remember I talked about that fog and that cloud? Because a lot of people stay in the fog and the cloud, and they can't really interpret and really understand our books from the proper perspective. Thus putting them in ignorance, but they think they're smart. Because they're telling you, oh, this is the truth. And they talk to you in such a way that when you believe that it's the truth. But they don't ever bring any evidence. They just tell you it's the truth. And that's just what it is. But it may not be truth or dare. Now, what's on the dare side? We go with what's on the dare side? Dare side, I'll give you some more D words on the dare side. On the dare side, there's destruction. There's disaster. And there could be death on the dare side. Is it truth or is it a dare? Because Korah found that out. How dare you be the Kohen? We all, I'm paraphrasing, we all are blessed. We all are holy. How dare you take the position of the Kohen? I can be in that position as well. On the dare side, there's destruction, disaster, and even death. If you so decide to agree with that side, if that's the side that you gravitate towards, I don't ever dare anybody into doing anything. Every action that you do in your life, I want it to be based on the facts, and then you had some proof, and then you took some action. Our forefathers, Hebrews, they had the facts, they had the proof, they saw the evidence, and then they came to the assumption that this God is true. And we're going to do, because this God is true. We're going to do whatever this God says for us to do under Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai, as they call it. Modern terminology. Truth or dare. And that brings me to this point as well. As we go back to the question, what happens when you're not happy? Not many good things. So, all for our lives is to keep ourselves happy as much as we can. Even during those times to where, how can you be happy when you don't have a job? There's a lot of people in North America, much less around the world, that don't have a job right now. According to the report from China, as of this morning, our time, is that my mother-in-law, my goodness, the city where they live, where I have a house and reside as well, Yichong is almost underwater. My goodness. The water on the roads is above the cars now with all the flooding. I'm pretty sure, Shanya, you're familiar with it as well. Not too many people are talking about it. But they're talking about the Three Gorges Dam. It's about ready to just overfill and crack and blah, blah, blah. A lot of things going on around the world. Destruction. Disaster. Death. A lot of people have lost all their possessions because of this flood, this flooding that's going on in China. Amongst all the other things China's having to deal with right now, just like every other nation, a lot of things to deal with on our plate. And kudos, and this is why we always pray for our leaders. Pray for your leaders. I pray for RSAHK. I meditate on for RSAHK, for the people of China, for the people around the world, people of India, Pakistan. And you all should be the same. Don't just put yourself in a bubble. There's a big world out there. Our books didn't tell us that we've been given dominion over just Texas. You haven't just been given dominion over just Michigan. You haven't been just given dominion over California, right? I hope not. My desire is that you don't, because I don't hope. There's a bigger world out there. It's big. It's big and it's beautiful. But we need strong people to uphold Mother Earth. To be great witnesses and watchers and to be those that really, be heroes, just like Hancock was. When he got sober and he got a little instruction and he got a little respect and a little care. Somebody really cared about it. Took the time and really cared about it. My goodness, don't we need more of that? People that just care. And don't have any alternative motives, but you just care because that's part of your character. Yeah. That's why I received that reward in all humility. Look, that's what I do. I'm a caring person. You're going to reward me for caring? Well, Baruch Hashem, I give thanks. But you all, let's continue to care. Whether you're in the spotlight or you're in the back of the bus, you care. That's what you do. And I told him a wise man, and it is written, and a wise man wants that the greatest in the kingdom will be servant to all. So what makes greatness? Those that serve all. Corona or no corona? Corona positive or corona negative? Green, yellow, black or blue? Don't matter. You're just in service. You want success? Be in service to all. Have the mentality of wanting all that money to be a billionaire so you can serve more. The more money you get, the more you can serve. The more you can stretch out your service. It's a great thing. Nobody wants to be a millionaire and a billionaire just to hoard it for themselves. If you notice, most millionaires and billionaires, especially billionaires, I know a lot of millionaires as well, they're very philanthropic. They give back. Communities, people, businesses, they give back. Service. However they choose to give back. But they give back. Big character to have. You don't have to wait till you're a millionaire and a billionaire to do that, though. Start now. Where you are. Truth or dare? So it brings me to our Kohen. That's the one that we know of, right? Like the majority of you said, like the only one for the majority of you in this room. Assignment out there, truth or dare. There's been a lot of times, a lot of questioning going on. Well, is he the son of Aaron? Truth or dare? Truth or dare? All you have to do is look at the truth side. Look at the proof. What are the facts? What are the facts? And you see, our Kohen is the same character as I am. You don't have to say much. All you got to do is look at the evidence. What's the proof? Well, who says, rewritten the 66 books and transliterated them into the most ancient language to understand from the most ancient forever ways of our forefathers. Who else has done that? Let's just look at the evidence. If folks would quit, rambling and just murmuring, just like what was going on here with Korah, murmuring against individuals who have been put in place of a truth, who have been given, the type of a truth. But some folks want to come in and usurp the title, take it for themselves. Put down, speaking. history. The factual, rightful position that was given to a particular people. Well, I'm still up in arms, and if I should follow him or not. Well, look at the proof. Quit running around here with the end of their side, because that side just leaves you. You see, because you're so skeptical that you can't get legal for a minute and really just look at things look at the facts, look at the evidence. Go talk to other people that's been around like Kohen. How have their lives been? Have they gone up? Have they been benefited? Are they successful? Are they happy? Or just the opposite on their side? Has there been destruction, a disaster, as our president likes to say? Has it been death? Are they in financial ruin and death and destruction? Blah blah blah. These are the things that you need to look at. The evidence. Everybody here wants the truth. So then you have to examine the facts, look at the proof, and then look at the evidence. That's how you're going to come up with a truth. Whatever truth, however you want to see it. For you. That's what's important. It's going to be for you. What you desire of a truth. Because at the end of the day, you're going to stand before the Creator of all things and be held accountable of what you surmised and what you reasoned as truth for yourself. And at the end of the day, I've really been in thought with this, because at the end of the day, these past 6 days of labor, a word came to my mind this week and having discussions with our colleague. Is this word choice? Many of you realize that all of you have a choice. You have a choice to be in here right now, or you have a choice not to be in here. And that's not based on me. It's not based on what our Kohen Rabbi Simon says. That's based on you. You have a choice. Just like you have a choice, everybody else in this room outside of you have a choice as well. You have a choice. You have a choice to embrace the Torah. You have a choice in your relations. You choose. I don't choose for you. You choose for yourself. You have a choice in the job that you want to take for yourself. This is all based on choice. But I'll tell you, there's a murky area in here. You see, choice and mental mindset, they come battle with each other, because sometimes if you're mind controlled, then you have no choice at all, because your mind is just taking you places wherever it wants to take you, and you just go there. Well, I'm telling you today, don't go there. Don't just go wherever your mind wants to take you. Really see what's inside your subconscious, inside your being, inside of self, that you do have a choice. You have a choice. Now, the problem comes in when choice, you see, that is choice. So what's the other side of choice? If you have this side as choice, what counterbalances choice? Anybody tell me? Can anybody give me a word that counterbalances choice? Anybody have an idea? What would counterbalance choice? What is the opposite of choice? One, there you go, force. That's what I was looking for, 80 cents and off of that line. Princess, force. Nobody, who in this room wants to be forced to do something? Anybody in this room wants to be forced to do anything? No. So again, if you're mind control, you're forced to do it, and you just do it because your mind is just taking you there, and you just go there. You just go wherever the mind wants you to go. And you know, a lot of people, they dwell in that kind of state of just, I'm just going to go because everybody else is doing it. And you see, when you lack consciousness of self, then you just force to do whatever the mind wants you to do. How many of you have been in that state for a minute? It's almost, I can't even describe it. I just describe it too. It's like being a zombie. You just, okay, I'm just going to go through the motion. I'm just doing this. I was doing it in Christianity for a very long time. Catholicism, because the mind, I was just doing it, you know, I didn't really have no say. I was just going through the motions. Because I didn't know I was, you know, seeking self, but didn't know what self was. I wanted something more than just what was just like served to me on the plate. I realized that, hey, I can order a different menu. I don't just have to order what's served to me. Some of that plate I didn't like. But I just did it just out of just, what else is there? You know what I mean? I was like, okay, well, I mean, this is just, if this is what I'm left with, then let me just roll with until I just got so old. And it just got so mundane where you're like, man. And then this question comes into your mind. This is when you know you're mind controlled, when you can ask yourself this question. You're like, well, why do I continue to do the same thing over and over? And then here's the other question that comes. There's got to be more to life than this. How many of you have asked yourself this question? See, this is when self begins to wake up. When you start to say, man, I was put on this earth for more than just this. You know what? There's a bigger picture here. I know there is more to life than what I'm doing right now. See, that's when self begins to wake up. And the mind gets afraid. When you start asking those kind of questions, my goodness. Then the mind realizes, oh, I can't keep them on the dare side. Can't keep them in death and disaster and destruction like most people are running around in here behind this coronavirus today. And I tell you, they run around here death and destruction and disaster, and we all going to die, and the market's going to crash, and, you know, everybody's going to hell in a handbasket and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Don't put me in your category because I'm not over there. Because I continue to operate from strength to strength to strength. Why? Because I got the facts. I got the proof. I know what's true. I know what's right. I know what's fair. I know what's just. Sitting here running behind somebody's conspiracy theory and wondering why there's a second wave of Corona. I'm not worried about it. There's too much positivity that I'm concerned with right now in my life, and truly taking advantage. You know, a lot of my nurse friends didn't know about all these benefits that are out there based on Corona because they're so tied up in taking care of these Corona patients. You're like, man, I don't know, they moved me off my floor. You know, we haven't been doing elective surgery, so they laid me off. I'm like, man, did you apply for this? Did you do this? Did you talk to your mortgage company and tell them? I said, you a nurse. They're going to open up all kind of doors for you. I mean, if you're a nurse today or in any of these frontline occupations, man, believe it or not. How many of you are witnessing or watching to how, you know, the government here is opening doors to you to where you can get things done, and they're here to help you. Even credit card companies and all these, I mean, there's a lot of advantages that can be taken care of, but too many times focus on the disadvantage. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills and blah, blah, blah. Well, call these companies and tell them to put them on hold. Tell them you're on the front lines. They'll help you. But if you don't ask, you will never know. If you don't ask. And people, they're like, oh, wow, I did it. Man, they're going to suspend my bills for 3 months. I'm like, Baruch Hashem. Now, go and carry on. There's all kind of services out here. We talked about this before. To aid and help you get through it. So you don't have to stay on that side of disaster. Destruction. Oh, I'm so depressed. I don't have a job. Well, I don't know if you know what I know, but I'm telling you, They giving you unemployment and some now while you wait. I was just talking to my neighbor. My neighbor, he lost his job. He had been there for 30-something odd years, and they let him go. He said, we don't need you no more. He said, we don't need you no more. He was like, you know what? I'm not worried about it. I'm getting this great unemployment. He said the unemployment was more than what I was making on my job. I was like, Baruch Hashem. Take advantage of it. While he's looking for another job. He wanted for a reference so he can get another job. I'm like, Baruch Hashem. Go and get you another job. Go and do whatever makes you happy at the end of the day. And like I tell my co-workers, if you're not happy being a nurse, then don't be a nurse. Go do something that's going to make you happy. Do what you love and love what you do. Thus, the definition of happiness. If you're doing what you love and you love what you do, that is the definition of happiness. Can't be sad in that environment, right? Think about that for a minute. Think about that for a minute. The recipe for happiness is to do what you love and love what you do. If you love the Forex, if you love the markets, do it. You're going to be happy. Regardless if you lose a couple of thousand, because you got tens of hundreds of thousands. Millions. If you love driving a truck, do what you love and love what you do. You're going to be happy driving that truck. That's what it is. If you love working at Walmart, then you be the best Walmart employee that they have, because you're doing what you love and you love what you do. And you just keep doing it. And you don't have to go around telling everybody you do, because the physical presentation is a witness. And thus you'll be rewarded for that. People will see it. They're like, wow, such a good worker. He don't say much, but he just does. And everybody else around him speaks for him. You don't have to say anything. It's all about choice. It's all about this day, what you want to choose for yourself. Hakohim choose to go to the east, and believe me, he's happy with his choice. That makes him happy to go back to the place of his birth. Look at Jim. I'm happy for him. I'm totally excited. Look at Jim. He chooses. Nobody's forced. Like pulling his arm. Oh, you going back to the east. No, this is what he chooses. What did you choose for yourself this day? But too many times we waste all of our energy on what other people's choices are instead of what we want to choose for ourselves. And we sit there and we critique what other person's choices are. Listen, I want to clear up something right now, just to be clear. My lecture last Shabbat, when I gave the testimony about my wife, who comes from the East, by the way, she's from China. I chose to take a wife from the East. But believe it or not, and I know this, and I want to put this out there, that there's women not only in China, but all over the world, even here in America. There's women that can sew holes in socks. How many women in this room are from North America, and you too can sew holes in your husband's socks or your significant other's socks? You can do it too. I know you can. I'm a watcher and a witness to that as well. So there's women all over the world. Don't mistake my giving praise and actually raising up women. Not just my wife, because I know there's women all over the world. But it's that right mindset that you must have. It's that mindset of being a servant to all. How you going to be a servant to all? By being a servant to your husband. Because your husband is your all, should be your all. You look at your all, it should be your all in all. Right, Shania? Fidel piety, Baruch Hashem. And that's all over the world. Women are like that. I'm just singling out China because you know why? That's, in my life, that's the facts. I'm giving you truth. And my wife comes from the East. That's truth for me. But that may not be truth for you. And so be it. The mindset of women all over the world. The sew holes in a woman's socks is all over the world. and I'll raise up women all over the world, even here in North America as well. Because just like you finding out, with everything that goes on in life, there always going to be some bad apples. Listen, my brother's in law enforcement. He's a cop. I'm not going to sit here and let nobody put my brother down and say he's a bad cop because there's some bad apples within cops. Come on, man. In every profession, there's going to be some bad apples. Every profession. Nursing profession, there's some bad apples in there too. Believe me. You got some nurses killing people. I don't know if you heard of what the president was talking about, but in our VA hospitals, our veteran hospitals, there was nurses actually abusing and killing veterans in the hospital. But does that make me a bad nurse, Eddies? No, it doesn't. There's just bad apples in every profession. Every profession, every walk of life, there's going to be some bad apples. Be some bad women, just like there's going to be some bad men out there that just misuse and abuse their wives. And in my life, personally, I dealt with some bad women. But you know what? I chalked that all up as experience because now it makes you have to go through hell to appreciate heaven. D-Eric says, my dad's a park ranger, and I guarantee you your dad is the best park ranger you ever met, D-Eric, So don't put him in a category with these bad cops. All cops are bad, defund the cops. That's just ignorance, man. Come on. See, this is what I meant by the statement that I made earlier, is that you got to become like a litigator, and you got to be able to see both sides, and then the middle. You know what I mean? So you just can't come up with these. See, these are people that are just zombies. Oh, defund the police. Okay, so that's the new thing. Let's defund all the police. All policemen are bad. These are people who are mind controlled. So you get it. As students of human nature, you got to understand this. You got to separate yourself from these people who lack mental control, who are being controlled by their mind because they just cheat led to the slaughter. They'll just follow the biggest protest out there. You see? Isn't that what happened with Korah? Korah didn't just go down. Korah took a lot of so-called famous people, glorious people down with him. How did he do it? Mind control. At the end of the day, these people had to make a choice. And believe me, they didn't make an educated choice based on truth. But it was just based on a dare. How dare you come in and try to take my position? That was given to me by the Master God. It was given to me by Moses. This is my position. How dare you try to come in and take it? How dare you try to come in and disrespect our Kohen? How dare you try to come in? Yeah. How dare you try to come in and disrespect the position of the Kohanim? How dare you? That's what I say today. Because these are people that have lacked the time to look look for truth in the facts and in the proof and in the evidence. Our Kohen, the evidence, Rabbi Simon out of the evidence speaks for itself. It just does. It's laid out. If you don't believe this man is a Kohen, then oh boy, do you haven't looked at the evidence. You haven't looked at the evidence. But you want to defame him, put him down, disrespect him. Oh man, that's Yah forbid. You see what happened to Korah. Yah forbid that any of the family members would even come close to doing that. Our Kohen is not forcing you to be here. Me, as a tribe of Judah, I'm not forcing you to be here. You're here under your own free will. It's not about forcing you to do anything. I'm not forcing none of you men in this room, or I'm not shaming any of the women in this room by saying, hey, go take a wife in China. That's not for you. That's for me. That was my choice. what I want you all to understand is you have the ability to choose what you want for yourself. Make yourself happy. Because at the end of the day, I want all of you happy. Truth or dare. Truth or dare. I want all of you happy based on the facts, based on evidence. And this is an honest conversation that you must have with self. Let me look at the evidence. Okay, what do I desire? Let me look at the evidence. Let me look at the facts. I mean, this is a real hardcore self-to-human being conversation, meditation that needs to happen. Because at the end of the day, there's a big difference between fact and fantasy land. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You got to be able to discern. Because fantasy land will make you miserable. Because it's just a fantasy. But you got to look at things based on the facts. What are the facts? In the realm of proof and evidence, some of these things you won't be able to see them, but they just as real to you because you don't see them. Man, the Master Yahweh, the Master Yeshua said something just the same. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but blessed are those people that haven't seen me, yet they believe on me. Wow. Talking about you and I. We hadn't seen the Master. I didn't clean his shoes. I didn't clean his feet. I didn't see him. When I got here, he was long gone off the face of the earth. But you have to be able to align your facts with your evidence, with your proof. And then not dwell on that other side of fantasy to where it just not happen because it's just not going to happen. See, fantasy just keeps you see, let me tell you one thing about fantasy. Fantasy doesn't like rejection. Doesn't like it. You see, fact and rejection are they're opposite each other. They counterbalance each other. What is the facts? Well, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to ask and I'm going to get the facts. You see, that's when you're going to get the facts because you got to ask. You got to ask and then you get the facts. Then the facts, and then the facts don't change, so then you move on. You know what I'm saying? You don't get to say, well, maybe if I ask it in another way, it'll become fact. You hang on to this fictitious, environment that you made for yourself. Some have a fictitious whole world, and they don't come back down to what? To what I call reality. Reality. You can dreams. You can have your desires. You can affirm. Those are all factual things that you can do. And then there's tools that you can do that assist you and help you bring those things into manifestation. Or you can just live in this fictitious world to where you don't do any of these things that you need to do to create your world, but you just dream it. But you don't live it. It's just over here in this dream world, and there's no action, there's no deed behind it. It's just these words out here in fantasy land somewhere. But when you allow, like the Master said, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. When you put your hands to work on it, and you can touch it, and you can feel it, and then it becomes real. That's reality. When you put your hands on it, it becomes real. You got to be able to differentiate between fact and fiction, between fact and fantasy land. You see, fantasy land, you will wait many periods of your life in fantasy land and never get anything accomplished. You want to know one of the biggest witnesses to being in fantasy land is that nothing in your life will get accomplished. None of the desires that you have in this world will never come into being. Well, you will never be able to touch it. And then you just go on and you waste a lot of periods of your life. Some folks waste their whole life fantasy laden. Instead of working on what's going to make them happy. You see, fantasy land to keep you unhappy because you never see anything materialize. You're not going to be happy not meeting none of your marks, right? That's not a happy place. Not a happy space. But it's all about what you choose. You see, but it's more important than choosing is you have to recognize. You have to recognize choice. You have to recognize, well, I'm choosing to do this. And you have to recognize what you're truly choosing to do. You have to see it. Really. You really do. You really have to see it. And if you don't see it, my goodness, you better be careful. Because you could be wasting a lot of energy on just that will never come about. This is a hardcore, honest talk with self. Honest debate that you have to have with yourself. What are the facts? What proof? What? And for whatever you want, you have to look at these things. What proves it? What are the facts? And you have to lay everything out. And then you just have to get real with yourself. Reality check 101. You must get real and say, okay. Based on human nature and human beings, has anybody else done what I did? That, man, I tell you, that boosts your desire and your dream to happen. Because if somebody else already done it, then it can't be done. So take your situation and see if others have already done it. And if it's already happened, then Baruch Hashem. You're a human being just like them, and you can do it too. You see, that's the difference between fact and fantasy life. And this is why it's paramount that you all have great teachers for whatever you want to get done. Some people call them mentors. They can be called teachers. They can be called gurus, whatever you want to call them. But if they assist you and give you guidance and help on you meeting your marks, your desires for yourself, then so be it. Then you be grateful and thankful to them for what they've done for you. And you give them that thanks. And you tell them thank you. And you show gratitude towards them. That's what you do. Mishpachah. What's very important in today's time is that as we continue to dwell in self, dwell in subconscious state, dwell in the meeting our marks, making marks and meeting marks and coming up with new marks, and we never forget the recipe for success. Once you do it one time, you just rinse and repeat it. And don't get swayed by the other side. Always stay on the side of truth and not on the side of dare. Dare is indecision. I can't decide. No, you need to decide. You need to be decisive, not in indecision. You need to be helpful, not one needing help. Well, you should be helpful. Be a helper to others. Be a servant to others. Be in a position of servitude. You want to help other people. Help one another. Because you will be great. Provide a service to others for those of you who want to get in business. Provide a great service to others. And you will do yourself a great service. You will be raised up. You're willing to help. Don't go through this life miserable. Don't go through this life angry. Find out what's going to make you happy and pursue happiness. Pursue your happiness. And however you see it. In a man, in material, albeit a car, a house, wealth, prosperity, however you see it. However you see your happiness. Pursue it. Choose to pursue that. Don't be consumed by, I'm going to follow this guy because he sounds right, because he makes me feel good and blah, blah, blah. No. You want to feel good for yourself. Make yourself feel good. And however you need to do it. Make yourself feel good. Go and pursue. This is a big world out here. Go and pursue whatever you want for yourself. Whatever you desire for yourself. Go and get it. Got the evidence. Got the facts. Can't be done. Just go and do it. And brings me back to the question I asked earlier. What happens when you're not happy? And use that as a litmus test for you throughout your day, throughout your weeks. Litmus test yourself. And look at the evidence that comes from that. Happens when I'm not happy. Well, somebody said earlier, everybody else around me not happy. You make everybody else around you unhappy. That's true. But again, you can't force somebody to be unhappy. So what you'll find is you may be unhappy, but then the people that you try to make unhappy won't get unhappy, and that'll make you even more angry. I had that happen to me in my relations. How many of you have ever been provoked? I've been provoked in my relations many times. How many of you have ever been provoked? And they just keep provoking you and provoking you. And the more you show peace, the more you just as calm as all get out, and you don't meet their level of provoking, oh my goodness, they even get more angry. How many of you know what I'm talking about? And you sit there and you're like, wow, how, I'm not throwing fuel to your fire yet. Your fire is increasing. You know what I mean? I had that happen to me many times. As cell phones zing by my ear. I'm like, okay, you just broke my cell phone. Is that supposed to make me very angry? Is that supposed to, you see, that's supposed to make me grab you by your neck so that I can get charged for spousal abuse? I'm not going there. Come on, man. I'm more mature than that. So you have to be careful of being provoked. Because people are going to try to do that. They're going to try to provoke you into a certain type of behavior or character trait. So they can see, told you. Don't fall for that. Keep your peace. While they get even more angry, and they turn into this, this thing that you're like, wow, man. And then at the end of the day, you extinguish everything by just leaving. While things are being hurled at you and hit you in the back and blah, blah, blah. I've been through that. That happens sometimes. And it's a mental thing. See, you have to be mentally strong to get through that. And you have to understand. And again, that comes with experience. But the best method is to just exit stage left. Just get away from it. Person do bad by themselves. I decide to stay on the side of happiness and love and joy and peace. That's my wheelhouse. Regardless, come what may, it doesn't matter what comes. Like Corey told me this week, you just deal with it. You deal with it. When it comes, you deal with it. You continue on, meet your marks. You continue on to dream dreams and be dreamer of dreams. continue on to go from strength, from happiness to even more happiness. And it's all rooted on choice. Not force, but choice. Perfect law doesn't force you to do anything. Perfect law gives you the ability to choose for whatever you want for yourself on the face of this earth. What do you desire for yourself? You just go out and you get it. And then when you get it, you feel happy. And you go out and get something else. And then you get more happiness. And it gets contagious. To where even though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death. How many of you know where Psalm 23 originates? What made the author of Psalms 23? How many of you know? Anybody know? I told you notice this, and I remember this. That's one of my favorite verses. Even in Christianity, I used to love to read that verse. How many of you know what Psalm 23 is talking about? How many of you know what Psalm 23 is talking about? And he said, Arthur King, what is Psalm 23 talking about? What is it in reference to? Christianity has taken it and they have adopted it as their own. What is that? What is Psalm 23 written? Anybody know? Anybody remember the lecture I did on that? Psalm 23? What does that originate from? Okay, I'll tell you guys in closing. You know what I originate from? Our journey in the wilderness. Think about it. When you go read Psalm 23 and think about the Hebrews' journey in the wilderness, that's what it's all about. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And I see that going around me when you go to the hospital and there's corona here and temperature checks and blah, 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 and mask and all this mumbo jumbo. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I know the Master's always with us, man. We don't have to worry about all that mumbo jumbo. Let's go on and save some lives and be a good service and help people get through this stuff, man. That's what I'm here for, to provide great service. I'm here to be a light to my nation, to my world. I'm here to be a dominator, not a disaster, destruction. Psalm 23. For the time when our forefathers were going through the wilderness and the master, cloud by day, fire by night. Nothing can touch you. Nothing can touch you today either, Mr. Hart. Nothing can touch you. Like MC Hammer said, can't touch this. Doom, 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 doom. That's true. Nothing can touch you. But you have to have that mindset. You have to have that mind literally set on, okay, this is what it's going to be. And when some situations raise their head, then I'm going to deal with them. Because Rabbi Simon out there has given us the tools to deal with it. You got to learn how to deal with your situation. And don't let your situations deal with you. A lot of you, your finances, not a lot of you in this room, but maybe some of you listening via YouTube, you don't deal with your finances are dealing with you. A lot of you, your relations, you don't deal with your relationships are dealing with you. So you need to put yourself in the driver's seat. You're the driver. And you can turn and steer that vehicle wherever you want it to go. But you are the driver. You're in the driver's seat. Come Shiloh or Sheol. So understand that going forward, Miss Bob. That's where we are. That's where we are with Korah. I mean, that's what side you want to be on. What side you want to be on the side of truth? Or you want to be on the side of disaster and death and destruction? You have to choose. You have to choose. Not based on what consensus says, because a lot of people went down with consensus in Korah's history. A lot of people went down because they wanted to go with the numbers, or they wanted to roll with the people that was popular, had the most likes on YouTube. Oh, these guys got to be in because they got the most likes on YouTube. Are you kidding me, man? Get all that mumbo jumbo. So they get their just desserts. So that's where we are, Mr. Hart. So on that note, I'll wrap it up for this Shabbat. If you guys have any questions, concerns, please put them out there. Cody, I say safe travels and happy journeys always. And as you continue to move through this corona-laden environment, take advantage of the corona. There's a lot of advantages for us out there. Take advantage of them. Take advantage of them, Mr. Hart. See the corona as a dare, but see it as truth. Look at the facts, look at the proof, look at the evidence, and keep it moving. You have been given the tools. We all been given the tools. I mean, corona's not going to touch us, man. So let's go out there and do things for other people. Hey, great businesses can be started, and great businesses are, man, they're coming into, right now, I'm telling you, there's a lot of great businesses coming up. Because, based on corona. You know, the new changes that's coming out, a lot of good businesses coming out. Great businesses, actually. Oh, Eddie, I'll put this out to you and all you other investors. There's a great, speaking of great businesses coming out, there's an ETF coming out. It's out now. I think now it's called the Work From Home ETF. Work From Home, the WFT. Work From Home. It's an ETF. It's coming out. I think ETF is going to do very, very well because it's going to be what? A lot of people working from home now, and this new period that we're in right now. So look into that. It's the work from home, a work from home ETF. Can you imagine? So they chalked the block with a lot of these great ETFs that are being used, great companies that they're using to work from home, like Zoom and blah 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 and all these other ones. They made an ETF for them now. So I think, I'm telling you that baby's going to definitely go some places for sure. So consider that going forward in your investment. I love investing, and me and investing, we have a relationship that's going to last forever. I'm a billionaire investor. I look to invest in all things, in people, in properties, in materials, in currencies, that's just what it is. That's do what you love and love what you do. So, on that note, wrap it up. And I'll say Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to you. Over to you, Korah. If you guys have any questions, please come across, and we'll keep it moving like we always do. You know, Israel is scattered to the four corners of this earth, so it doesn't matter where we go in our travels. It doesn't matter. We'll always be here. So we're here forever. That's why we forever is. On that note, I'll wrap up, and I'll wish you all a great 6 days of labor ahead. And go out and do great things. Go out and do great things because you are great. You're the greatest. You're the greatest people. You guys, you know what? Israel, you're the greatest people I ever met. I'm telling you, you are the greatest people I've ever met. I've ever met. So, on that note, over to you, Kohen, and Shabbat Shalom Shalom.
Yeah, Todah for that, Rabbi Kefa. Okay, we'll close the room until next time. So, have a great Shabbat and great week ahead. Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Shalom to you.